Yeah,
on.
yeah. Does it feel better, headphones?
Yeah, because I want to play a couple songs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
Your being here has completely legitimized my having a studio that was made just for me. So I want to thank you. I had you in mind the entire time, that you could be one of the first interviews to show everyone, oh, that's what John has in mind by having an interview show. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I remember you talking about it years ago.
Well, you were also on Current Mood, which was the prototype. You could see me, if you've paid attention the last like 5-10 years, you could see me like trying to have this. You know, the last time I spoke to you, there were cardboard boxes in front of us in my living room on Instagram Live.
That was cool.
You know, so that's how I know that I can connect. And we talk all the time anyway. So
that was fun.
It's fun talking to you because you don't know how to bullshit. And I love talking to people who don't know how to bullshit.
Oh, thanks for saying that, because now I can just...
You don't know how... I don't know how to bullshit, but does that mean that you have to be careful who you talk to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a great conversation this morning with my management. I was like, you know, they're like, do you want to do this podcast or this podcast? And I was like, you know, it's not that I have anything against this person. It's that I just feel like in that space, what
were you thinking that made you laugh?
I was just thinking like my inability to just be like on the wave they might want from me might just make me seem like a stick in the mud.
Yes, the inability to be on the right,
like the super excited, super like culturally connected wave. Like,
and if you don't do that, then you don't give them what they want.
Yeah, and I struggle with those environments because I want to bend,
and therefore you would shoot yourself in the knee.
Yeah.
If it meant they saw blood and loved it, but then you have to deal with the fact you just shot yourself in the knee.
Afterwards, I would be a wreck.
Me too.
There you go. And that's why we're here.
Me too. But but I will tell you. Let me tell you though. Once you have an interview show, and you're starting to talk to people of your caliber, you do get the sense that you do have to get a pound of flesh somewhere.
Yeah, I believe it.
Just to have a pull quote.
Yeah, I get that.
So at some point, I'm going to go for it.
Take the knife out.
But I'm going to...
But you know what I said to my hairstylist, and she was like, why do you feel comfortable doing this? And I was like, because if he gets me into a hole, he'll also help me get out of it. You're so connected in a very natural way. Like, you're not trying to stay connected to everything. You just are. You're just a really curious person.
Thank you. Yeah. Are you a curious person?
I am. I'm less curious than I think you are about other people.
But you're curious about the interior life of yourself.
Yeah. That's probably what the thing in the world I'm most curious about.
Is what's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also when I find someone who's willing to open that window to me, then what's going on in their internal world too.
So I like the external world because it keeps me out of the internal world. What I've found is that
this is so awesome because I was like, I'm gonna bring up about how much you love things and ask you about why you love things. I
can tell you all about why.
Yeah, this is good. You already started.
And I'd love to know your take on this. Obviously, this is so personal to each and every person in their relationship with themselves and their thoughts. I don't trust the geometry of the mainframe inside my own brain.
Yeah.
I think, to me, it's a moving target every day.
Yeah.
The idea of looking for some semblance of peace in the way things work inside is a wild goose chase for me.
It kind of is.
And so you think it is too?
But go on.
So I spend so much time in there that to live among things with specifications, and those specifications don't change, right? The reference number of your watch is the same tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So I hide out in specs, in materials, in shapes, in really
things. You guys don't even know the amount of things
I have.
The amount of things you have.
It's what I call like compassionate materialism.
Yeah.
It's not material above all else.
No, because you will like get like a small little thing you'll have the most love for I've ever seen of anyone. Yeah. What was that thing you had, like a wallet that had?
I already hate this.
Yeah.
I already hate this.
Okay, let's get out of it.
No. What is it?
It was some sort of like first of all, we're sitting outside the studio and I'm looking at your vehicle, which had things on it.
Yes.
The vehicle had things in it and on it to do more things.
Yes.
And then you pulled out a thing out of your pocket that at first glance is a wallet, but actually had
lock-picking tools?
Tools, just in case you were learning to lockpick.
Yeah. these are the pursuits that keep me from hanging out too long inside my head because I feel like there are no hard and fast rules by which to abide.
Yeah.
What's your experience like going in
the
there?
head?
And have you ever, are you on a diet in terms of how long you spend in there and how long you leave?
Oh my God, yes. Because I get addicted to excavating.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should put this into some chronological context.
It'd be
for people.
helpful.
I sort of see your career as the hero in a movie, and in these different chapters, each record's a different chapter. And in the last chapter, you were on tour in 2022, and you canceled the rest of your tour, which to me is like the end of a movie where the cowboy, you hear a gunshot go off and it goes to black, and we don't know what happens to the cowboy. Yeah. And the reason I think it's fun to talk to you about it now is because things have resolved. You have an album coming out called Shawn that is the beginning of the next movie where you find out that cowboy lived and he shoots back. And I think there's so much to talk to you about that in terms of the end of that last movie and the beginning of this.
Or he stopped shooting.
Or he stopped shooting.
I was like,
he chose a life of peace in the pop world?
Peace. He stopped shooting. He started doing other things that were less peaceful, but...
Oh, you're okay. Well, then let's leave metaphor world because people know that I can be extremely confusing.
And I can't get involved in this game.
No. I will both get lost in metaphors. We all know the action that was taken, which was explaining to people that basically you had to call the rest of the tour off for your own good. What were you feeling in the run up to that, and what were you feeling after you made that move?
Oh man, I'm still processing that. That's
processing what? Like, is there shame? Is there external stuff like you let people down, or there's shame, that stuff?
Yeah, it felt just like a big energetic like letdown. Like letting down one person is tough, but like letting people down.
Did the sense of relief ever
trump the feeling
of letting people down?
Because if it didn't, I wouldn't have done it.
Right.
You know.
So how bad does it get?
It gets bad
before you finally call it. How long are you thinking about calling the tour and before you do?
Okay, so I mean, consciously, I don't know, consciously, but unconsciously, I could tell something's wrong. I didn't know what it was connected to. Yeah. But you know what's actually interesting is that it has less to do with what was happening, and it has more to do with what never got a chance to happen.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that?
Life.
You becoming a person that could go do this stuff. Yeah.
Having other baskets to put eggs into.
Here's what's great about that.
Yeah.
Most people in your position that you're describing don't even know they're a person in the car on the ride.
Yes.
You witnessed yourself not fully being formed enough to have these things happen to you, which is a level of self-awareness that I think is probably your saving grace.
Yeah, it is.
Did you ever cheat? And when I say cheat, I mean turn to things like vices. Did you ever go to things that killed the pain for a second? Or were you always fighting this without help?
To be honest, I always was fighting this without substance help.
Good.
But what's funny is actually 2 days ago, I'm filming a music video, and my throat is still hurting from this. And I'm like, I had this whole thing about having my first cigarette this year.
Of all time?
Yeah.
How did you like it?
I absolutely loved it. Yeah. Like it, especially when I'm being creative, it just takes the edge off. Even like right now, like a cigarette would be perfect, you know, because it would just like...
But how many have you had since the first cigarette?
Quite a few.
Got it.
I was smoking, making the album.
And you don't worry about people seeing you with a cigarette in a video or telling people that you smoke?
Well, I think this is when it comes back to the what never got to happen part.
Okay.
There was an unconscious rebel inside of me that was just like, I'm tired of that. But what's interesting is that the cigarette was always like a part of a celebration, or like we're connecting over something musically, or we're in the studio. Like there's a magical kind of moment happening. 2 days ago, and I don't smoke regularly. It's usually if there's like I'm in the studio or I'm working.
Are you smoke when you drink, Guy? And do you drink?
I rarely drink. So if I drink, I'll probably have a cigarette. Yeah. But yeah, like 2 days ago, I'm filming a music video, and the stress, the unconscious stress that I felt, because I realized I hadn't been on a music video set. Like I hadn't felt lights. I hadn't seen crew guys. Every video I've put out so far has been two of my close friends with a camera. Zero crew.
In terms of making this record, it's just been a friend with a camera.
Friend with a camera.
And did that feel? How did that feel to go back into a music video as the representative of this life you're going back to? Could you make friends with it?
There was no. It was a complete clash of like all my fears came up, and then I started smoking.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. At the end of the video shoot, actually, in the middle of the night, I woke up, my stomach was just hurting, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's what abuse of something feels like when this."
That you'd smoked so much that you got sick, or
just felt so sick. Yeah, my throat, my chest, my lungs, and I was like,
"It's an ongoing question for the rest of your life, as long as you do any substances at all. What is the appropriate amount?" And there is a funny little section where it's not enough, and then it's too much.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I stopped drinking, was because I just couldn't find it. I couldn't find that. Every day was a new challenge to find. It's like that perfect temperature in the shower, that 1 degree too hot before you just burn your flesh off.
You know what's crazy about me? I can handle a hotter temperature in the shower and tea. And so.
Not a metaphor.
Not a metaphor, literally. Yeah. So I think for me, I've always been so conscious and aware of when I'm drinking, whether it's too much, or if I'm smoking, whether it's too much. It's kind of like been my motto.
You're holding your own hand.
Yes.
And this goes back to you saying, Shawn, well, what's the sentence? If you could put it into words, before you make that call that says, I can't do this anymore, was there a voice from that person who's holding onto your hand telling you what to do? And what did it say? Yeah,
I mean, that guy was literally like, you cannot continue to do this. There was like you have to backtrack. You have to go. You have to build a home. You have to build a life. Like I didn't have that.
But then I would say it didn't look like you went home and moved things in on a U-Haul. You went from the perspective of seeing you on social media. Certainly, you kind of went to remote areas, places that seem to me to be the exact opposite of domestic and home.
Totally.
So you went on this journey.
Well, that's the question of home, I guess, you know.
So you're fine to be in the jungles of Borneo with the right people and have the feeling of being home.
I think so, to an extent. I think also it's really important in like a nice place on the East Coast to have a place with candles.
Where's home right now?
I have a house here in LA.
You feel home when you're in it?
Occasionally.
What happens that makes you feel like you're home?
When people are in there and I have the space set.
Am I correct then in assuming you don't like being alone?
That's an interesting question. I like being alone with intention, if that makes sense.
The intention to
be alone.
Be alone.
And to take a breath and to hear my own thoughts. But to be alone kind of casually is tough.
Well, you're about to not
If everyone's
be
like,
alone.
oh, well, I'm going here. If like, I'm in a room with 5 people and like all at the same time, everyone's like, I'm going to go here. And oh yeah, I got to run and do here. And then all of a sudden everyone's left. I'm like, whew.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You know what that's called? Abandonment.
Yeah.
That's like psychic abandonment. And I had it when I was growing up and had terrible panic attacks. I'll tell you a story no one knows. I like the opportunity to tell you these things as much as you're telling me this stuff. When I went to college, actually before college, I didn't really graduate high school. I did through summer school, and I never went to college. I was home for a couple of years before I went to Berkeley. And I hated being the last one awake. Yeah. I would look outside my window, and if I saw another house had a light on, I'd feel okay. And I hated feeling like the last one awake. I felt abandoned by the world if I was the last person awake. And then when I got to college, I had a roommate who would, back in the day of instant messenger on AOL, he would be typing with his girlfriend back in San Diego, and I would sleep like a baby knowing he was still up. But the minute, he knows this, the minute he signed off the computer and started to get ready to go to bed, I would race ahead of him to the bathroom to get ready to go to bed, to try to get in bed first, because I was so scared of being the last one awake. And then I discovered time zones and realized they're awake in Tokyo. Yeah, but
did that simple perspective?
No, it wasn't as simple. I can look at it now, but that was abandonment. That was socially being so sensitive. I mean, you are one of the most sensitive people I know. And I don't mean that sensitive in terms of vulnerable.
No.
It's not vulnerable. You are processing things on a level most people don't understand. And there's a lot to process in this world. And you seem to have done it perfectly on the new album. When you sent me the album, and you know I'm like not just your biggest fan, but like I root for your heart and soul and brain and hands and legs and feet and everything. I said to myself, he did it. Picture a guy in the stands after someone completes the touchdown pass to win the game, and the guys in the back just going, he did it, you know? do you feel like you did it? Because I think you found the music that you had been searching for. And how did that affect your take on having left the stage, not just the stage of music, but the world stage, and coming back? What does the record mean to you now?
It's I feel like I'm getting the chance right now to actually open up about this, because it's a really complex thing to talk about, and it's nice to be speaking it with you, because I sense that you went through a similar thing.
Sure.
You might have started closer to where I'm trying to get to, but there has just been, I guess what going away for 2 years did was it really connected me to my sense of self and my inner compass and what feels true to me and what feels performative versus what feels authentic. And now coming back with this album was like really like, I'm just gonna really put out what feels entirely authentic.
You did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's moments where you kind of turn straight to the camera.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're doing things in front of the camera when you're writing, and occasionally you stare straight down the barrel.
Yeah.
And I want to play something that when I first heard it, I went, son of a bitch.
Okay.
And it's this part from Why.
No, that's fine.
Could have done that.
It was nice to hear. So
That's
it's nice
coming
to hear
off
your
of
songs be played back in a setting like this.
So you well, that means you love it too, because I watched you and you didn't make a face of like, oh, I've got to sit through this.
That's exactly the authenticity thing. Go on.
Sorry, you said I stepped off the stage with nothing left. All the lights were fucking with my head. But here I am singing songs again. Why?
Yeah.
When you first had that idea, did you write it on paper or did you sing it into a microphone?
Into a microphone.
So you sing it into a microphone. And what's your first thought?
Can't say that.
Yeah. Good.
And luckily I write with people who the second I say can't say that, they go, have to say that.
Yes. People don't understand this. Can't say that.
Means have to say
means
it.
have to say it. It's exactly
in a songwriting.
In
sense,
songwriting,
I would
yes.
say conversation that I don't know if that necessarily holds.
Couldn't
up.
agree more. I'm glad you gave that disclaimer.
Don't use
Although,
that.
you know, when we're younger, there's that sense of mischief. But this isn't about mischief.
Yeah.
This is about
we are adults. We know when we're crossing a line of mischief or not. When we're actually, it's can't say that because it's true.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's we're not supposed to say that to the audience.
Yeah.
We're supposed to keep this
The
perfect
facade.
looking glass going on of what's going on. And I always say it's like if you roll the dice on a Monopoly board and it falls off and hits the floor.
Yeah.
That's where the dice is.
Yeah.
It's not on the game board. It's on
Yeah.
it's in a different place. And so you never had second thoughts. You went and where in the process of making this album did you touch on that, and did that send you into other things on the album? Did that blow the honest thing open?
It was really that song. That was when we were like, okay, this is the bar of honesty that we have to be writing from.
And then you say, here I am singing songs again.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the answer for that?
The question is still there. You know, I'm because I am.
Yeah.
Because I wake up and that's what I want to do.
Did you ever think when you said, I'm going to stop this tour, that you were going to stop music altogether?
Absolutely. Oh, man.
How long until you picked up a guitar again?
2-3 months. I really thought it was like that's why I was in these places. I was like, am I going to move to a little coastal town? And
you were looking up real estate.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing out there.
Yeah, for real though.
What would you have done if you never came back to music?
I have no idea. I seriously thought about. I actually took a small therapy course, and I was like, I might just become a therapist, like in a small town. It'd be fun. It'd be weird at first for everyone, and then eventually they would just get used to it.
That's always the fantasy, man. So we're gonna give up. We're gonna give up the big time, and everyone in the second grade class is going to accept that I used to be a singer or
and
something.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be in the second grade because I never finished.
But here's what's happening for me right now in a present moment. I'm recognizing that as a celebrity and as a musician, I haven't really necessarily had the platform in terms of conversation to just talk about the nuance of being authentic versus like when that authenticity just feels like almost too authentic for the public.
Do you have those kind of discussions with management?
Yeah, and I think I guess I'm learning right now, and I've just been experimenting with social media, and I realized that, you know, there might be like 100 people screaming really loud all these negative things, and then there's 3 million people who are like, we love you however you are.
Who don't feel something that makes them have to write about it in the caption.
Oh yeah, they're either like,
the
oh, that was cool, or they're like, yeah, I like that guy. And a lot of them are like, hey, we support you.
Yeah.
But what's weird is that as a human, I know this is so talked about all the time, but we really don't have the mechanism that understands that can make that translate emotionally okay.
Yeah.
You see 20 tweets about how this is not right, and you're like, oh man, maybe it's not.
I know.
It's crazy.
I know.
Well, if you were in a room with 20 people and all 20 people told you that's wrong,
you would have a terrible night.
You'd have a panic attack.
You'd have a terrible night. And people don't understand that polarity, right? Like, you can deliver one message to 1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is say one thing, it goes into a microphone, and it's replicated in a way so that 1 million people get one message from you.
Yeah.
But if you flip it,
Yeah.
you can burn someone out like that. People don't understand it, and maybe they don't have to. The money's good. It's part of the deal. You don't always have to show them what's behind the curtain, but what's really happening is, like, to your point, exactly.
Do people want to see what's behind the curtain?
No.
They don't.
No, man.
Some people might.
There's magic to this.
Yeah.
There's magic
This is
to
really
this.
good to talk about with you, actually,
Yeah.
because I feel like...
Although you're so authentically you that
Yeah.
I would never... A fan of yours hearing me tell you that
Yeah.
perhaps you shouldn't be so open about what's happening. You know, there's
No.
another guy who did that.
Yeah.
His name's George Harrison.
Right.
That's all George Harrison did.
Right.
You know, I've told you before, if you look at George Harrison on the Dick Cavett show, right after the end of the Beatles,
Well,
he reminds me of you.
Well, I watched a lot of those interviews.
And it's striking. He's not living in anyone's box.
Yeah.
And you're not living in anyone's box.
Yeah. It's a funny...
But there's things inside the box.
There's things in there.
What do
Yeah.
you want out of the box this time?
I guess I'm just figuring it out. I'm figuring out, like, if I even... I guess, to be honest, too, it's like, if you go away from your family for a year and you go off to school and you learn all these things, you don't just go back home. I mean, everyone's experienced this probably from coming back from school. You go back home and you're this entirely new person, but your family remembers who they last saw.
And your family's the fans here.
And the family's the fans here. And so maybe you go back and you try to be that person, but it's completely shocking.
But
and
they've
jarring.
changed too.
They've
I
changed.
think in the math
Yeah.
equation, you haven't realized they've grown up too.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think that is a huge part of it. And I really think the bigger part of it is actually just I've talked a lot of talk about being okay with the negativity. I'm not okay with it. I just never looked at it.
You never looked at it until when?
Until recently.
So even back in 2022, negativity was not a part of the equation.
I just wouldn't look into it as much.
So why now? It's like tonguing a loose tooth and feeling the pain or something.
Something.
A little masochism in there.
There's a little. There's also a little bit of just like. I think I'm just testing. I'm like, I have this little boy inside of me that's going, well, do they want the real me? Because I'll give them that, and then let's see. And
are you also testing? You know, you get the sense that you broke a bone.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's healed.
How strong is it?
But now you're wondering whether the bone has healed up.
Yeah, and you almost want to push it.
I get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, real quickly, hate itself, and I put hate in quotes, is out of fashion.
Yeah, it is, man. It
People,
just sucks.
if you're left hating,
it just sucks.
it's not 2009.
Yeah.
You know, it's not 2012. The art of hating, we're beyond it. And what happened is, I've seen a couple people say this, and I agree with it. So I think people are having this thought in parallel. Everyone who has a real thought about something that you should care about is moving to group chats.
Yeah.
It is lame.
Mm-hmm. And conversation, actually.
And conversation.
In person.
Or don't forget that 90% of the people go, cool, can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
And don't
Or
post.
not even that second one. They just go,
cool. I remember in my worst times as an
Yeah.
artist,
What
feeling caught up in the negativity. And are they for me or are they against me? I remember the day I realized they don't care.
yeah.
They don't care.
Right.
Now, you have to get over the fact that in and of itself might be a
Do you
little bit
think
of a
it's a little more nuanced than that? Do you think it's a lot of people don't care, but some people really care?
The people who really care love your music, and they'll come to your shows and you'll see them.
So it's like almost trying. It's like there's a crowd of people who there's nothing you could say that they would like, but you just get obsessed with trying to please them. It's like,
But I wouldn't get obsessed with trying to please them. Number one,
Right.
you're so much cooler than them.
right? Yeah. This is what's happening too.
And also, let me tell you this:
Yeah.
it's a victimless crime
Yeah.
to talk about these fucks,
Of course, yeah.
because they won't self-identify.
Right.
So everyone who's writing is not going to say, "Hey, I'm one of those fucks he's talking
Right.
about."
They wouldn't walk into a room and say
No,
that. Yeah.
it's the last thing they would admit to someone else.
It's so funny because I feel like this is like the first month of being a musician. People are like, what do you think about the negativity online? And I was like, you know what? It is what it is. And here I am at 26, like, it's actually bugging me this year.
It's
for the first time ever.
You know why it's bugging you, I
Yeah.
think? That's a great interviewer to tell someone what they're thinking.
Yeah, no, please. I'm curious. I'll
I
tell you
think
if it's not.
You have more awareness than ever
I
before.
think
You're
that's
more
what
in
it is,
touch
too.
with stuff. And it's not that someone is making you feel bad about yourself, but it is intellectually confusing and offensive to have reality distortion waves be shot at you, and you go, that's not what's happening in my life.
And the more you know yourself,
Yeah.
it just becomes like, oh, wow, I really want to explain this.
You know what I just remembered?
Yeah.
I just remembered that you, me, and Dave Chappelle
Dude,
talked in a hotel
on
lobby.
On the way here, I was thinking about that.
I had not thought about
What
that
did
since
Dave
it
tell
happened.
me?
I'll tell you exactly
Yeah,
what he
'cause
told you.
I was trying to remember. I couldn't remember.
So you wanted to talk to me. I think I said I was in the lobby with Dave.
I was
Dave
probably-
said he wanted to talk to
Yes.
you. And you were saying, you were still on tour because we were both in Denver.
Yes.
Where we were
And just because I'm going to Denver, I was bringing it up this
Yes.
morning.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And you said, I just feel like I want to do something to break out. I just feel like I've been doing everything right. And Dave looked at you and Dave said, you want a little more texture. I get it.
I didn't understand.
But now do you get texture?
Totally.
I mean, smoking a cigarette is texture.
Absolutely. Yeah. Instead of just darkness or negativity.
Yeah, it's texture.
It's not that black and white.
It's texture. And so you're the one writing this story. The other thing Chappelle says that's beautiful is the strongest dream in the room wins.
And I guess the worst part about it is that there's 100 people doing that, and then there's millions of people who are pouring their hearts of love at you.
That's right.
And-
But then for that million,
Yeah.
you would not sell out arenas if it were just those people.
Yeah.
And those people are important because
Right.
they are the front line
Right.
of the energy driving you to do what you do. But you have couples, date night. You have people who go, "Hey, I got an extra ticket to Shawn Mendes. Want to
Right.
go?" "Yeah, I'll go."
You think so?
Oh,
That's
I
awesome.
could
I
not
love
promise you something more. This is a
That's
failure
beautiful.
of research.
Yeah.
This is a research error.
I love that.
Not just that you're having, but that everyone is having. This is simply a data analysis error. The people who are filling your arenas are people who like your music, who say, fuck with him.
Yeah.
But they are not all super fans.
Yeah.
And you don't want all super fans because they're so important, but you don't sell out arenas unless you get people who go, I like that guy, who would never think to post in the comments of an Instagram post.
I mean, that's awesome.
You can't see them because they don't write you.
Yeah.
The people who have interesting things to say, like I do about your album,
Yeah.
have positive things to say. That's actually where the creativity comes from.
And that's honestly what I've been just trying to focus on is like I need to shake that off so I can actually hear all the rest.
Yeah.
That is there, which is more. There's more of that.
And this record, by the way, is going to attract more people than any record you've ever put out before. I think, and people need to understand, writers and artists are just doing their best to find the music they want to play.
Yeah.
I've written songs I didn't end up wanting to play, but you don't know till you write it.
Yeah.
A lot of these songs...
You want to play it. You want to be at one.
I mean, I have to ask, how do you feel about this group of songs?
There's probably one song that I'm like, I don't know if I want to play it, but every other song I'm like, I want to play every day.
You want to play it.
Every day.
And you
I do play it. I play it in my kitchen.
Yeah.
That's when I know.
You played, is it Nobody Knows?
Yeah.
You played it at the VMAs.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you played it live?
Yeah. No. That was the first time I played it live with Eddie Benjamin and Mike Sabbath. We kind of did this new version.
I want to play a little bit of that because Eddie Benjamin, who's a guitar player and a bass player and a producer, right?
Yes.
You got to hear his guitar. I want people to hear his
Artist.
guitar. Sorry, I got to move the mic. I want people to hear his guitar playing.
We talked about how much we love you and how inspiring you are, and he completely melted. Eddie, I'm sorry I have to share this.
No,
He completely melted just about how much he loves you, and this is just for me. 2 days later to see that in reverse is so special. Like,
how much of the song is created in that first burst of inspiration, and how much homework do you have to finish a song?
a lot of it is in that. You know the answer to that.
Do you finish most songs in that first hit?
Yes.
Yeah. And when you don't, do you hate having to finish it at home over the weekend?
Depends on the song. If it's good enough, no. But I will. There was of these songs on the album. This was the most I've given myself homework, actually. Probably 2 or 3 though.
That you have to go write a second verse. How well do you behave in that zone to go get there? Are you excited to do it, or do you have to set aside the time to do it? I have to make
It's a set aside. Yeah,
because you don't get the song.
But it's not even just set aside. It's like set aside with a nice warm drink in a nice. It's like you got to create the atmosphere. It sounds so bougie to like talk like that, but
you know the difference between you and I in this case is that I have a giant digital whiteboard in the middle of my living room,
right?
And I will stand there. You know that GIF of like Charlie Day on Always Sunny.
See, this is where I don't.
And there's a bunch of papers up on a wall, and he's like feverishly showing things. I become extremely insane in my living room.
That sounds great.
And I'm Good Will Hunting, and the song is the equation. And I want to get it because you know why I want to get it? Because I don't want to work on it anymore. I want to have it, right? So when you write half a song, and this is why I think a lot of people just write 1 day's worth of a song and move on, because it's an entirely different brain to stand there.
Music is different. It really is a different caliber of writing. I really believe that. I think there is a level of thought and heart and time that you put into music that is.
Thank you.
It is. I'm not just saying that. It is genuinely different. It truly is. Not even just to compared to like modern music, but to all music in the past. Like even if you go and listen to, John Denver, there's a texture difference.
That's really sweet of you say. And you might be right in terms of the intention of getting it to read across, down, inward, like getting it to work.
That's what makes it beautiful, John Mayer music.
Yeah, thank you. But
that's what makes it so quotable.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's highly intentional. And the older I get, the more I have people in my life who I guess feel comfortable enough to just ask me to make one that's just a hip shot. Just make the record that's just
no scope.
But what's really funny is the people who want to go in the studio and do that with me, for me, in 1 week realize, oh, that's a whole different process you have going on, and I'm here for that. I'm here for the discussion about the word kept on your wall versus taped on your wall.
Yes.
That could be a 5-minute discussion. It turns out I love that stuff, but what I don't love is going home with half a song and having to grab the rest. How long does it take you to get the rest?
I'm pretty I'm pretty like quick to say I don't want this or I do want this. I do like this or I don't. Like it's
the song or the pieces you're writing for the song?
Anything but the song.
Yeah.
And so I think the reality is I don't know if it's a discipline thing or just a nature thing, but when I'm making a song, if it doesn't feel deeply upwelling and moving and like literally like I'm gonna vomit out the words, I don't want to write it.
So you will write it if it's moving enough. You just will automatically write it.
It would just write it. I just don't have the energy to like be like, is that maybe?
Yeah, I'm with
I get
you. You would just start another one and try to hit that one all the way through. Yeah.
I wait for that feeling of song vomit.
Yeah, I
horrible metaphor.
No, it's not. The song vomit to me gets me halfway across. The race.
It gets me like 70-80%.
Gets me 35%.
Wow! Oh my God! You must. You are putting effort.
And then I go home and I write 22 pages.
Did it always? Was it always?
Yeah.
Always?
Except, look. I mean, I love being honest at this point in my life about all this stuff. There was a lot more waiting for me at the finish line than there is now. And that's what's different, right? And maybe for you, like, this is not your debut album.
Yeah.
And I'm actually super curious, and this would require a level of just incredible, extreme honesty from you. What's in it for you right now? And be as superficial as you like, because I would be superficial. I'd love to make people go, oh my God, Mayor's still got it, right? What's pulling you into it now?
I think this is a question I ask myself a lot, and I'm still looking for an answer, but a lot of different things. I feel like I just discovered the kind of like, I just started listening to artists from the 70s. Like
which artists?
Like Crosby, Stills and Nash.
There you go.
John Denver.
Yep.
I just started to actually listen and understand there's a sophistication to music that's really beautiful. Like there's a it's like, I guess, like anything, right? It's a taste. It's like food, like
they're
art.
grabbing onto something that most people can't get to. There are these strands of beauty in the world
There's
that no
things
one
in
can
there.
find unless they write those kinds of songs.
Yeah, and I'm deeply moved by those songs.
And what's interesting is, I think
Wherever
5
they
years
come
ago,
from.
well, they come from allowing yourself to do something like that. I mean,
And
a lot of these
setting
songs,
a goal for yourself to make that type of music.
and you did on this record, because
Yeah, we're getting closer.
Shawn from 2 years ago would have thought these songs were too simple. Right?
Yeah, and you know what?
As
Shawn,
you were writing them, you would have said, "That's too simple."
yeah, he also would have been able to like sit down and have a relaxed conversation.
Right.
You know.
And now, what felt simple as you were writing this stuff, you listen back, are you starting to realize, like, what are you learning about this album listening back to it that you didn't know when you were making it?
It's complete. I mean, it really is medicine. Like the reason I made it was to kind of ground down and to just create a hug for myself. And I realized the pattern that needed me to create that, I still have. So when I'm kind of spinning up and getting afraid and I listen back to Isn't That Enough, I'm like, oh.
You find your way home on that.
Yeah.
So are you booking a tour or tours?
I'm in the talks of it right now.
And the talks you want to, and other...
I'm feeling into it, honestly. I do not want to let people down. So I want to make sure I want to.
And then once you decide to, will there be changes to the way that you schedule the tour or go on a tour?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you're going to do different?
Just time between. And the major difference, I think, is the people out there with me. Having more people who we can create life with.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just get out there and work. It's like get out there and live too, you know.
It's hard because I don't think people understand
how much hard work it is.
At a certain point in touring, you cannot get it any better than it is.
Right.
Whether you are
no
the
matter
Rolling
how much money you
Stones,
have, yeah,
or Lady Gaga or anybody,
yeah.
that
when
a hotel is
Denver,
still a hotel.
Hotel
Hotel is still a hotel. You know, a plane is still a plane.
Mm-hmm.
No, it could be a private jet. But you're still going up to 40,000 feet. You're still coming back down.
Yeah,
and
you're not there for dinner on Sunday.
No. And it's still an arena. And I always say every dressing room has the smell of testicles. You will find it.
Yeah.
Even if there's pipe and drape and there's beautiful carpeting.
You cannot mask it.
You will at some point find that post-game spicy nut smell. And you'll be like, right, this is not a living room.
So this is when it goes back to the why of what is pulling me to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe this sounds, I'm always worried of coming across self-absorbed, but
it's an interview.
Yeah.
Let me just say it right now. If anybody wants to write, this guy sure likes to hear himself talk, it's an interview. I'm asking him to do this. Blame me. Keep going.
I think I've discovered that I'm pretty good on stage. And
you are.
And I'm facilitating an environment that feels like uniting. People feel connected. And there's a sense of like, there's a relief of anxiety, which is just my number one.
When you get up there.
And I think through the show, there's just a connectedness, you know, there's a higher sense of purpose.
Do you get nervous to go on stage?
Yeah.
Okay, I like to ask this question every once in a while. If you could put into words the feeling you have right before you walk on stage and give it dialogue, not just describe what it feels like, but make it say something to you, what does the feeling say?
It depends, actually, on the show. Because going on stage before I played this album, for the first time in my life, I felt too relaxed. And it was completely numbing, unconscious numbing. But
so that you wouldn't feel the overwhelm of it.
Yeah, well, there's so many voices that are coming in. There's one voice that goes, "Oh, I'm gonna show them I'm him. I'm him."
Okay, that's the angel on your shoulder. What's the other one?
No, that's the devil.
That's
the devil being I'm him. I'm gonna show everyone. Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. Look at who I am.
See, that to me would be the angel. The devil for me is.
Oh, it's the devil.
Fine. All right. All right. Fine. You know. So wait a minute. You're so much
so
higher.
Different.
What is then? This is a very Buddhist take.
Maybe.
This is a very Buddhist take. These are your earthly. This is your binds to a very earthly kind of possessiveness that you want to have.
Yes.
It's going to be about you.
Yes.
What's the one you're shooting for? To take.
The one that makes me feel better, sincerely, is the one that is like, just get out of the way. And if you can kind of make it more about the experience that people are feeling in the room, you can actually experience it with them. You can almost do this this is going to sound really heady, but you can almost do this thing where you're the performer and you can enjoy the show too.
That's right.
And in order to enjoy the show, you actually have to not be super obsessed with yourself.
Because then that splits the two of you, you and the crowd.
Yeah. You kind of, to be able to, because listen, my whole thing is like, I just want to figure out how to make each moment enjoyable. And that one, for me, used to be enjoyable. Well, it's super enjoyable for a lot of different reasons, but the most enjoyable part is when I get to feel like I'm sitting in the crowd. Yeah, feeling the crowd, feeling.
Well,
the
that's
show.
also like flow state.
Yeah, well, it is flow state. I mean, just to all that headiness can just distill down to those two words.
I mean, it's similar to flow state. Yeah. When I go on stage, and I people need to understand, I love playing live music. I think it's evident that I love playing live music, or else I wouldn't do it this often. But if you walked up 5 minutes before the show and told me that all the power in the city had gone out, I would go, oh, thank God.
Right.
I don't have to, because the walk to me is I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I just, please, can something happen that I don't have to go on stage?
And what is that? And like,
it's a kicking and screaming while I'm about to change states of matter. I'm about to change states of matter. I'm about to go from this thing to that thing. And I know what you're trying to do is stay the same thing. And that's where I'd love to be. It ain't going to happen for me.
Well, you said something.
I can do that with Dead and Company, actually.
Well, yeah. Well,
I can do it with Dead and Company. But
you said something beautiful, in the Rick Rubin podcast, where you said, my goal is to make the stage the same level as the ground.
Yeah.
I never forgot that. I've told 1,000 people that.
I want to get that to happen, but still there is a state. Like,
what if we don't actually desire for that sensation? What we just want to feel is calm, like peace.
I want to be there.
Yeah.
And my nerves don't come from whether or not I'm going to be good enough.
Yeah.
See, I knew I was going to be good enough, so I had to invent new things to be worried about.
Sure.
And the worry is, will I existentially want to exist there?
Okay, got it. Me too.
Will I want to be there?
Me too.
That's it.
That's the
talent's not going to. So you feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
You have the relationship with your talent. Like you're going to start singing. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. I finally.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when you find something to obsess over, if it's not obsessing over if I can't hit the notes,
that's right.
It's obsessing over if I want to be there.
What if I lose my mind?
Yeah.
I've been on stage before and thought to myself, usually somewhere in the middle of the tour when the music is muscle memory,
Sure.
What if this microphone were to turn into all B's?
Right. Just because that's where you are.
What if I now am singing and I am inhaling all B's? Now, I end up picking up a psychosomatic reaction, believing I can feel the fuzz in my nostrils. I can feel the little wings wanting to flap, but there's not enough room for them to go around, so all I feel is the vibrating. Now they're in my sinuses.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the middle of going, when you be there for me, baby.
God, that's interesting.
It's my brain won't stop. I go, what if all that cheering is actually screaming?
That is super
What if it's all screams of pain?
And
then you hear it and you go, kind of sounds like it, freaking myself out. It kind of is that. Like there's another me.
I had a friend who asked me, what do you think about when you're on there? Like, because we were watching a show, my closest friend. He's like, what do you think he's thinking about? I'm like, honestly, this is probably his like 98th show. And like, he is probably in the middle of the TV series he's watching. Like
about me? He asked a question about me?
No,
about you.
No, someone.
You were watching.
We were watching another artist.
Yeah.
And like that does happen. There are these moments where you just like completely disappear.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I'm gone most of the show. I'm playing the music most of the show.
Yeah.
I'm fine by the middle of the first song.
Yeah.
It's when I get up there, and the solo tour was different. That was just so naked.
It kept you present. You had no choice.
You would see it in my face if I started thinking about which episode I was going to watch of a show when I got back to my room. You would see me leave.
Yeah, you would go.
All I have is just me up there.
Yeah.
You would see the eyes start to fade out. Any rituals you have? Any rituals before you go on stage?
I really love to just get as the whole. My new thing is actually more than just the band, like the crew. Like every single person. Maybe there's like 50 or 60 of us in the room. And we just played in Brazil, and there was like this little kind of trailer room. And my thing is like really getting everyone on the same page that we all, even though it is me and my band members that walk on stage, we are all walking on that stage.
Is that in a way to make, obviously to make them feel comfortable, but is that a way of reaffirming for yourself?
It's a way.
It's not you alone up there.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what I looked at it too. I have a thought like that.
Yeah.
You know what I said to myself to make it feel better?
Yeah.
This is all still backstage.
Yeah.
The stage is still part of the backstage. It's not a part of the crowd. So really, I'm just in the cockpit of the backstage.
It's really funny because if our brains got studied, they're doing the same thing from two different perspectives.
More. I could not agree more.
Achieve the same outcome.
We are different. We are the same Fortnite player with different skins.
Completely. It's funny. Like you're coming at it from such a funny perspective.
Yeah. Oh, I could tell you.
It just would never, like if I tried to do that, it would just never work for me. I would just be I'd be laughing.
For me, the stage is the observatory deck connected to the backstage. It's not the crowd until you walk out into the little divot between the trench between you and the first person.
Does that actually help you?
Yes.
That is unbelievable that helps you. I mean, that's amazing that helps you.
People think that I am like the cockiest person who ever lived. I'm cocky about my... I can be very... Let me put it this way. I don't have a self-confidence issue when it comes to what I'm able to do.
Maybe people just never took the time to understand you.
I didn't make it easy to want to try.
Sure.
I didn't make it look like something someone wanted to set off a course on figuring out. I'm riddled with insecurities.
Yeah.
They're just not about the thing everyone's got their eye on.
Sure.
Like, well, you're about to put an entirely new album of songs into a set list that are different from the other songs. Would you agree they're the most different than the other songs were from one another until this point in your career?
Absolutely, by a long shot.
How's it going to be playing a new one, wondering if they wanted an old one? Are you like that? Are you like me? I go, they want a hit. They want an old hit, not a new hit.
Here's the thing. Comes back to those 2 years where I have almost become repulsed at not being authentic, and I've swung almost too hard where I can't find authenticity in something I've done in the past, which is why I make it about, okay, well, they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to find the places like, hey, maybe there is a little bit of authenticity in Treat You Better.
Yes, there is. I think
it's refinding that. You know, it's a swing. It's, you know.
Well, think about what it represents, right?
Yeah.
Treat You Better represents, well, that's not forever ago. It's a couple albums ago. It's not your first album.
No. But enough years ago in the lifespan of my life.
Is there a part of it for you that you relate to it being such a big pop song that it's representative of different ambitions than you have now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to just erase that metadata. Yeah, they're just songs now.
Yeah.
And I think when you first get back on stage and play them, you'll see the crowd is different. They want what's on your mind now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And when you play Treat You Better, they're going to enjoy it
for different reasons.
Yeah. And now I got to tell you, you're old enough now that, dare I say it, there is nostalgia for a song like Treat You Better.
You can enjoy it.
Yeah, even you should as well. I play Your Body as a Wonderland.
Yeah. And you actually, you know, it's funny, you actually start playing it more like the record when I've noticed that, like, I never felt a bounce in Treat You Better, which I think the whole world felt. I always felt a weight. I always felt like I was
on the downbeats.
I was pushing down, where the whole world was hearing everything bounce. And so now I've started playing it with a bounce, and the whole energy of the song it's a different thing.
I think you're going to surprise yourself with how much you love this.
Yeah.
Because they represent something different.
Yeah,
now.
they do.
And they're all versions of you, but you get to commiserate with that version of you.
Yeah.
And hear it back and go, that's what that kid was thinking. Yeah. And you can put your arms around that kid as you're singing it and sing it with him and sing it for him and have him next to you and go, come on, let's sing this one together.
I remember you saying that.
Bring him up with you. You know?
It's a beautiful place to get to.
What I found really interesting was I interviewed you for Interview Magazine.
Yeah.
And they sent me a list of questions I should consider asking you. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised to see questions about, and this is the
where the
wording.
knife comes out?
What's that?
Is this where the knife comes out? Okay, come on.
But I'm only interested in how you feel.
Let's go.
I don't use proper nouns on this show.
Let's go.
But I found it interesting that people wanted me to ask you. It came from you. It said, "How's your love life?"
And it came from me.
Well, maybe it came from Interview Magazine.
I think it might have. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Well, and I'm not. Like I said, phenomenally interested.
But we can talk about that.
I'm interested in.
You're interested in me.
I'm interested in you, and I'm interested in the experience, the very intense experience of growing up in the public eye.
Yeah.
Having a relationship in the public eye. not having a relationship in the public eye, and then hearing back the reflection of that from other people in the music that they make. I mean, that no one's going to understand. And again, we should
rewarded. Talk about this.
We're handsomely rewarded for the stuff we have to deal with, right? And we should never say, just so you know, here's how tough it is. I'm curious, has the intensity of the scrutiny about that part of your life, your love life, I hate saying it's the worst phrase in the world.
You are free to speak
the dumbest phrase in the world.
You need to speak. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any lingering trauma about getting into another relationship because you have this sense memory of how difficult it is to get in and get out and not have the sense of yourself be damaged?
Because of the way that it has been portrayed through music afterwards, or just generally?
All of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
All of it. You know, I mean, you and I are both talking as people who've heard songs that are, at least other people are saying are references to us. And the question is, are you excited to get into another would you get into another relationship
with another songwriter,
with someone who could write a song?
I wouldn't stop myself from falling in love with another songwriter, if that's the question.
So certainly you wouldn't stop yourself from going out with someone well known that would put you in the magazines again, walking down the street with someone.
No, because it's a no-brainer to me that the suffering that is from hearing a song maybe talking about you in a way you don't want to be talked about is not even close to the beauty of falling in love with someone for the first time. It's not even a question. But it's a funny feeling to feel like you're being written about, and like maybe the whole picture is not being expressed.
It never will be.
Yeah, and I think this is a maturity here.
Not in time. Not in the current moment.
Maybe not even in this lifetime.
But also, there's something I want to bring up with you.
Yeah, please.
Because I'd love to just bring it up in general, and I think this is the right place to do it. It is possible that you play something wrong with somebody.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? Like,
it's likely.
It's likely.
Yeah.
And I think what we have to do is
stop this idea of you're not going to fuck up. You're not going to do something wrong. You're not going to hurt someone's feelings. Like the biggest lesson I've learned is no one gets out of this life without getting hurt, and no one gets out of this life without hurting someone. That's right. Just the truth.
Yeah. I'd rather be hurt than hurt someone.
Every time.
You know, I mean, disappointing people is terrible.
It's the worst feeling.
Is there something in all of this that you could say, yeah, I played that wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, I really like to give myself the space to like really understand if it isn't right. Mm-hmm. If there's like a whisper that this isn't right.
It's not right, the relationship you're in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or anything for that matter, but in a relationship, if there's a whisper in my gut that's like, this isn't right, I'm going to go through every hoop that is like, maybe this is coming from fear, maybe this is coming from because she looks like this and not like this, or maybe, I'm going to go through all those hoops.
Will this kind of debate make it to your therapist?
Yes.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
And it's
if they don't know that, people don't know that. Certainly not the person who's upset that this goes all the way to your therapist. Because upset in and of itself is distorting to reality. And it's hard for us to learn. It's hard for anyone to learn, let me say, that being upset will distort someone's reality. And you're not going to get a song from anyone who had their feelings hurt that's going to be a reportage of what happened.
Here's exactly what happened.
Here's what happened. There's no one's going to ever have a song. And here she is now with her new song, It Was a Little Bit Me. Right? But it's a very interesting place.
He did his best.
Yes. Here's a song called Both of Us Are Responsible Just a Little Bit. Here's a song called 70-30, 70 Me.
He's not actually a bad guy. Could be a song. 70, what did you say?
70-30, 70 Me. That's actually kind of nice.
And he's not actually a bad guy.
You want to sing it with me right now? Yeah. 2, 3, 4. 70-30 and 70's me.
That's nice. That sounds like literally the theme song to this show.
I thought we were going to sing it at the same time.
I didn't know what the hell you're going to do.
I don't know. It would have been beautiful. It could have ended up being a harmony.
Yeah.
So you feel excited to get into the next relationship?
Yes, for sure. I think, I guess as long as we're living, we are healing.
Yeah, and you're gonna get it wrong until you get it right. And
that's where I'm trying to just have immense grace for myself. It feels like there is no room to get things wrong online.
And when I say get it wrong, let me just add a little more into the mix. Play it wrong.
Yes.
Play it wrong.
Yes.
Behave. There's behavior and there's action, and there may be the same thing.
For me, it's timing.
Explain that.
It should have said this a week or two earlier than you did.
Yeah. Because then what? You went and acted on something that you hadn't.
I know. For me, I'm never someone who's going to do something without telling someone first.
What changes then? If you meant to bring it up and you didn't, and you're a week late.
Impulsive. I'm an impulsive person.
Your ultimate.
Kick that
me
thing
in this microphone.
Kick its ass.
It's always during the cool stuff I want to say too, because I gesticulate.
You get excited.
But I think you're ultimately impulsive. Here's the thing, dude.
Come on.
Get ready for this.
Here it is.
You're ultimately impulsive because you spent so long pressure cooking with this decision.
It explodes.
And people have a hard time understanding that where did this come from? This one act out of nowhere. And the reason I say this is not to excuse it. It's months of pressure cooking. And there's something in there that can be fixed in your behavior, in everyone's behavior, who goes, I'm just going to ignore it today. These are little tiny acts that add up, and then you explode. And what's unfair about it is the other person didn't have a chance to discuss it.
Yeah.
You left them out of the equation the entire time.
Yeah.
So that when you finally go, I can't do this, you look like a psychopath.
Yes.
And really what it is you've been the most caring person for so long, but never shared with them, hey, I'm having second thoughts about this. Hey, what if we saw each other 3 times a week, not 5 times a week?
That's the difference. That's what I've just learned. That's what I've, in my life, is if I'm having doubts about someone or about anything, to give that person the opportunity to talk about it with me too. Yeah. Just awareness to it, because that really changes the dynamic so much. Being alone in your doubts in a relationship is
I'm very upfront lately.
Yeah,
I'm very upfront.
It changes everything.
And you said something earlier that I think is interesting. There's you and there's you. There's like you and yourself.
Sure.
You could be a spokesperson for yourself and say, hey, here's how I get. Here's how I kind of am.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more you know how you are.
Yeah.
And I just think a lot of guys get, and very reasonably get, a bad rap because they play it wrong.
Right.
And the thing they play is, like we said, pressure cook, think it might go away tomorrow.
Right.
And you start to build a facade because you don't want to disappoint. You don't even want to disappoint yourself.
Right.
I mean, if you're like me, you have sat somewhere and thought, please, God, make me want this.
And this is the type of conversation right now that could definitely get completely spun out. And
not by smart people.
Right.
Not by smart people.
Yeah.
You know, this is about auditing.
And also it's really important to just express what it feels like from the guy's perspective. I feel like, just to be like this, hey, this is what it genuinely feels like. You know?
I mean, this is a very honest investigation into how people get seen as assholes.
Yeah, I think a lot of women I actually know are really genuinely curious, regardless of if it comes across this way or that way. A lot of women I know are super curious about actually what it does feel like to be a man.
That's
what
right.
the intention, where it comes from. And there's one thing that I'm thinking about, which is just like, you know, when you're pressure cooking that feeling, maybe it just comes from the deepest fear of, there's been times in everyone's life where we thought we knew what was right, and we have been harshly proven to be wrong.
To say nothing of the fact that it's always changing. Relationships are always changing.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very complex confluence of all different things that make this stuff up. But what I think is interesting is someone looking at you, hearing you talk for 5 minutes, with every fiber of their being would say, that man has not a bad bone in his body.
Right.
There is not a bad bone in your body.
And I think the beautiful thing about that is you also should say that back to yourself.
Yeah. The other thing you say to yourself is, played that wrong.
Yes.
And if you're allowed to look back on that, not as nuclear war,
yes,
but that I screwed that up,
yeah,
and you're left to be able to deal with that in its actual size, which is, would like not to do that again, but not World War III. You can very quickly get on to doing that.
Yes, and that is so crucial. I think you know, I'm always gauging whether or not it's worth talking about the details in these situations. But like, for instance, being with someone 2 days before seeing your ex and communicating 2 days before that you're going to go hang out with your ex.
So I'm only asking you to clarify because I truly didn't understand it.
So I'm with someone. I 2 days before going to hang out with my ex express I'm going to go hang out with my ex because I have unresolved feelings. Maybe instead of 2 days, it could have been 2 weeks.
It could have been 2 weeks, or it could have been that no matter what you said when, this was going to be disappointing.
Right.
And this was going to be hurtful. The difference is, it's not, there are so many gradated little lines on the ruler in this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not nothing, but boy, is it sure not everything.
Yeah.
You know, and if more people were able to go,
well said.
Played that wrong. Played that wrong. And we could say it like that.
Yeah.
Didn't do that right.
Yeah.
You know?
Come on, back to the drawing board. All right.
Dude,
okay.
the older I get, the more I can go, screwed it up with them.
Well, this is why you're here right now doing this.
Well,
this is why you're there and I'm here.
Because I feel like you have things to say.
Yeah. And
we
you
all
can
have things to
feel
say.
my fear about...
I think there's a way to cut this that's meaningful.
Yeah.
But if it kept you up at night,
no, it doesn't.
I don't got to
actually,
sell.
This is a beautiful.
There's a way of saving these kind of conversations for people who are able to have them, and I feel like I'm able to have it, and you're able to have it. And what if someone listening to this? Forget about the idea that this might get me in trouble or give ammunition.
Yes.
What if someone listening to it goes, "I never thought about it
that way." Fuck, well said.
Isn't that better than getting a pull quote?
Being
because
so obsessed.
Bring these things down to normal size with yourself.
Yeah. To everybody feels them.
What I can tell you is this. It's a longer life than you think.
Beautiful words.
And you'd be surprised down the line who you won't see at a party or won't see at an event or a thing, and you'll be able to tell they're okay.
Right.
Whether they say it or not, they'll give you a hug and they'll say, good to see you, and you'll go, it's over.
Right.
And guess what? There's someone else, that person has done that same thing too. And it's a chain. And if everyone agrees that given a certain amount of time, unless something terrible took place, truly terrible took place, you're allowed to say, how you doing?
Yeah.
You all right? And then you say, hey, look. And they go, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to cry on the way home because you're going to remember all the nights you spent going, fuck, I fucked it up.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of space in this world for the middle.
Yeah. But if you're not in the middle, you're not learning anything because you're either ignoring it,
or you're completely in disbelief.
You're ignoring it because you don't want to touch it, or you're burning your own brain out because it hurts too much.
Yeah.
So
I think it's so important that you are aiming. I think what you're doing is actually beautiful, man, because you're actually playing in a really, really important, crucial role for the next generation of artists. You're holding this. You're holding a mentor place, and
thank you, man.
So
thank you.
Powerful, you know, because I think at the end of the day, musicians can all have therapists, but none of those therapists know what it's like to be a famous musician.
You're so right. It's funny. You talk to a therapist and you go, you ever seen your ex-girlfriend on a billboard before?
Right.
And they go, no, I've never done that. I go, let me tell you, it's a weird 2 weeks.
And even hearing you say that,
it's weird 2 weeks.
That just like making it not the end of the world, but not nothing, like you keep saying.
It's weird 2 weeks.
Is so profoundly healing.
Do it, man. I always say, stand in the middle of the boat.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny.
It's so good because it becomes funny, and then when it becomes funny, it just becomes so palatable.
It's you know, listen, if you want to go all the way to the end of this thing, of this thought experiment, God forbid something were to happen to you or me, and we had a funeral, they'd be in the seats.
I'd hope so.
They'd be in the seats. If you were taking your last breaths, you'd feel our hand.
Oh, that's nice.
Promise you that.
Yeah.
All it means right now is that this is difficult.
That's the clip people will choose to.
All right. I had to get some at one point.
There it is.
But I feel that way too.
Yeah.
You would be shocked who's going to come talk.
And if the roles were reversed, it would be you there.
100%.
With your hand.
100%.
And that's.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Exactly.
How similar 2 days from now do you think your thoughts are going to be from what you're saying right now?
it depends on how I wake up, honestly, or even the drive over. Like it's so.
But here's what you're doing.
It depends on you.
Yeah, that's right. You're making your process, and I hate to say journey, but you are a journeyman. You are making your process known to the world as you go through it.
Yeah.
You're the type of person who would not wait until your autobiography to say, you know, in 2022, it was really hard for me to take the stage. You'll act then and there.
Yeah. Always.
You know? And was there was pressure cooking in ending the tour?
Of course.
I'm sure for days. I can't let people down.
Yeah.
And what you have now with this album is saying to the world and having the world say to you, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
We're good, man, as long as you're good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just nice.
But are you good? You're good.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just coming back. I think just to find that middle ground again, I'm just re-entering a completely insane space, which is just opening your heart up to the world.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
I want to see people
no matter how strong your community is, no matter how strong your friendships and therapist relationship is, communicating with the world is a crazy feeling.
And I want to see you measure who gets to communicate with you. I want you to say, what are your qualifications?
That's really nice of you to say, man.
You know, I want you to say, I understand you wrote that. I don't know who you are, and I don't know your qualifications.
Dude. What? So yeah.
What are your qualifications?
It's huge.
If someone told you, if you were having a kid, and someone said you should definitely let the kid sleep in the cupboard,
right?
You'd say, I'm sorry. What are your qualifications?
Do you have a child?
Are you a child psychologist?
Right.
Have you written a book? No. I just slept at a Holiday Inn last night.
Right.
You go. Well then, what you're telling me is null and void because I don't know your qualifications.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, the people who love you, myself being one of them, are interacting with you positively on your social media.
Everything.
Going to go to your shows, and what's really going to happen with this album is reach people who didn't know they were fans of your music, because this is one of those albums you can put on and leave it on and do stuff while it's playing. And you said before the last time we talked that you were shocked I said that because you had the conversation about this being, what do you call it? Utility. It's music you can use, you can drive
to. Play while you're having dinner with friends.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. You know why I want to make that type of album? Because that's the type of album I'm looking for all the time these days.
You made the record you were looking for a long time.
Yeah.
And it warms my heart to see you find the gold at the end of the rainbow. And the most important thing now for me, and certainly for you, is to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And keep some people off of it. But your heart is so open. Yeah. You almost are showing respect to these people by reading it.
Yeah.
Well, I should hear them out. I'm telling you. What are your qualifications? I wish you all the best. What are your qualifications in being able to tell me what to do? You know?
Yeah.
And
I really do. I really, really understand what you're saying. This is like, it's uncomfortable to, it's uncomfortable to not know and to be in the process of figuring it out in front of the world. But like you said, like, I don't have another option. I can't come on here, be like, I'm going to use everything I know up to this point and put that on and be in a performance mode.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. My one option is to be figuring it out right now.
That is your...
Yeah.
Now, to you, sometimes it's your Achilles heel, but I think that's your superpower.
Sure.
I really think it's your superpower.
Yeah,
and you know, you'd be in a completely...
Well, it would be both.
What's that?
It would be both.
It's both. I see. Yeah, it's... But on this record, it is you taking advantage of your superpower, and I hope...
Thanks for saying that. I thought it was... I think it is, too.
I think... Let me give you an example of a vision of the future.
I think it is, too.
You're backstage. It's 7 o'clock. You're looking at Instagram or whatever, and you read something that bums you out. And then you go on stage, and you go into Heart of Gold, and you go, oh, no, that's untrue, because listen to this. So you've made your own armor you can put on. And
that's awesome. And you know what? It is armor I can put on when I get on stage. It's actually even armor I can put on when I listen to it. That's what I was saying.
And guess what? Yeah. So will other people be able to do that.
I'm so glad.
They're going to put it on.
If it can be armor for other people, that would be like the goal of all goals. That would be the most beautiful outcome of this album.
I'm so excited for you. Do we get tour dates? Do you have them? They're just not out yet?
Yes.
There's routing, and you like the routing.
I do. I'm like I said, in complete honesty, I just want to be very sure with myself that I'm ready to do this again.
Are they set so that there's more days off?
Yeah.
You're home sooner.
Yep. There's less time, less dates,
Yeah.
more family around.
Good.
Yeah.
How many days a week? Three, 4 shows a week? 4?
Really, honestly depends. Yeah. Honestly, it won't
you gonna fly private and dart home and live a life at home?
It really depends on the type of routing that I want to do, but it's going to be that, or it's going to be having enough of home out there with me, which isn't the same, but
no. You're very people based.
I am.
You're a company.
Yeah.
I like company. You're company based.
I do. I like having like 3 or 4 close friends around, and then I like being in a house where we can cook dinner, or we can smell the dinner go up through the house. Like that's just like
Great. Good luck finding one in Cincinnati for playing when you play the Shot Center. I don't know if that's Cincinnati or Cleveland, but
thanks for the truth again.
You are just one of my favorite people. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your trust in letting this conversation happen.
Same, man. This is just so.
And I can't wait for people to hear the album, because what they need to understand is that no one cares about this more than you do.
Yeah.
No one cares. For years we've been talking about this, and you made the record you were hoping to make.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Thanks, John.
Do you have a favorite spare part that you would play? As I know, I can't imagine anyone's ever